International rivers. Tell me a little bit about international rivers. What is it you do exactly?
International rivers works to protect rivers and the rights of communities that depend on those rivers. We also work to stop the construction of destructive dams and to promote water and energy solutions that are sustainable.
And where are the polluted rivers? Are they mostly in developing countries, developed countries, or all over?
The polluted rivers are all over. What differs is the nature of the pollution, depending with the location. In some areas, it's acid pollution. In some areas, it's organic pollution. So it's very variable.
Okay, and tell me about some of the worst polluted rivers you've been to. What was your initial impression when you saw it, smelt it? What did you see?
In my experience, the most polluted river that I came across was in Karachi, and it smelled of blood. It was bloody red because of the animal wastes that were being released from the abattoirs or slaughterhouses.
And rivers are obviously essential to life for many tens of thousands, millions of people who live alongside the rivers. What effect does a polluted river have on the nearby communities?
Rivers are the lifeline of most of these communities. Polluted river actually stops the use of the river for provision of the services that the communities might require. It might also affect resources such as fisheries. And in the case that I've mentioned, mangrove forests were actually dying from the pollution of the river. And the stretch of that pollution was going into the sea to as much as maybe 15 kilometers. You wouldn't want to drop or even touch the water because of that kind of pollution.
And obviously nobody wants to live alongside a polluted river like that, but is there a general movement around the world, city governments, to try to clean up their rivers? I mean, obviously you have to stop polluting before you start cleaning, but is there a general move to do that?
Yes, but in some cases political will, there's lack of political will, depending with the level of literacy of the citizenry. You find that in some cases there's no push, because sometimes we need the public to pressure the authorities to do that. We also need the public to monitor themselves, to be aware that I shouldn't discard whatever pollutant into the environment.
And can all rivers be salvaged? This river you mentioned in Karachi, with the right effort, if they can stop the pollution, if measures can then be taken to clean it up, could one way or the other, with the right resources and the right technological information, could that river be recovered?
Yes, rivers have been recovered. We have lots of examples from Canada, from the United States, the Washington, Columbia River, where the salmon has started running up the river. We have one of the oldest examples, the Thames River. At one time, Parliament even couldn't meet in Westminster because of the odor that was coming from the Thames River. So yes, rivers can be salvaged. And now, even we've gone to the extent where some countries are even destroying dams to recover the river flow and re-establish the ecosystem.
Tell me a little bit about that, the destructive dams. What is a destructive dam and what is a non-destructive dam?
What we regard as a destructive dam is a dam that is built for a certain purpose, let's say hydropower generation, but in the end it does not produce the energy to save the community. It's probably just for industrial development. The economic benefits are not going to the locals. In a way, also those dams, they tend to disrupt the flow downstream. They might destroy an ecosystem with the Zambezi, where the prawn industry has been affected by the several dams on the river. Sometimes the whole ecosystems or communities that rely on sediments for agriculture and so forth might have to change their livelihoods because of the damming. In some cases on the Nile, the Sudan, people have been moved from a fertile river valley and taken to a desert area where they were not able to sustain a livelihood from there. So we have, guided by the World Dam Commission, we have principles that should be met as a minimum for any dam development.
Okay. Okay, and you've brought your message here to COP17 in Durban. Tell me about that and the
Yes,
events
here we launched a Google Earth animation of video, which we called Wrong Climate for Big Dams. This video takes the viewer through some of the problems and explains that dams are not the solution. It talks about emissions and gives examples of carbon emissions in Brazil. It talks about dam safety and the dangers that climate change cause in terms of dam safety, and takes people up to the Himalayas, where a lot of dams are planned, but because of the glacial melting, there's high risks of flooding and endangering the people downstream. It talks about hydro-dependence, where cases like in Africa, Kenya, for example, hydropower generation is really been affected, and it becomes costly because the rivers have become much drier than predicted.